The borrowed materials like stories, songs, videos, pictures, brand names, trademarks, and others used in this material for educational purposes are owned by their.
Pagod ka na bang magsulat ng contact tracing form sa bawat pinupuntahan mo? Natatakot ka bang mahawa dahil sa panulat na ginamit mo? Nangangamba ka ba para sa iyong data privacy? Higit sa lahat, may saysay nga ba ang mga pinagsusulat mo? Upang bawasan ang ating alalahanin sa tuwing magtutungo sa mga establishmento ngayong meron pa ring COVID-19 pandemic, ay ginawa nating mas madali ngunit mas maiting ang ating contact tracing sa Valenzuela City. Narito na ang Valenzuela Contact Tracing App o ang ValTrace. Sa pamamagitan ng ValTrace App, hindi na kailangan pang magsulat sa contact tracing form sa bawat pupuntahang establishmento. Kailangan lang ipakita at i-scan ang inyong unique QR code. Ang record ng inyong mga napuntahan ay direktang maitatala sa database ng ating Mega Contact Tracing Center na magiging malaking tulong para sa mas masinsinang contact tracing. Paano ba gamitin ang ValTrace app? Step 1. Mag-log on lang sa valtrace.upcase.net. Step 2. Sagutan ang online form at i-click ang Submit. Step 3. I-generate ang inyong QR code at i-save sa mobile phone. Maaari din itong i-print. Narito ang ilang paalalang dapat tandaan. Simula September 12, 2020 ay pwede nang i-download ang inyong QR code. Sa October 5, 2020 naman ay sisimulan ng hingin at i-scan ang inyong QR code sa bawat enclosed indoor establishment sa Valenzuela City, tulad ng mga mall, restaurant, grocery store, bangko, simbahan, palengke at iba pa. No QR code, no entry. Kaya mag-download na upang hindi maabala. Ang serbisyong ito ay libre at pwedeng gamitin taga Valenzuela ka man o hindi. Bawat isang QR code ay para lang sa isang tao, kaya dapat ay may sariling code ang bawat individual na papasok ng establishmento. Kailangan pa rin palaging dalhin ang quarantine pass sa tuwing lalabas ng tahanan. Ang QR code ay kakailanganin lamang tuwing papasok ng establishmento.
The borrowed materials like stories, songs, videos, pictures, brand names, trademarks, and others used in this material for educational purposes are owned by their respective copyright holders. Credit goes to the original owners. The author does not represent nor claim any ownership over them.
Aghamisi morning, everyone! Rise and shine, grade 7 students, and welcome back to Valenzuela Facebook live streaming in grade 7 science. I am Shaila Rocio Laguador from Dalandanan National High School, and today I am very much excited and grateful that I will facilitate our virtual science class. But before we formally begin, please be reminded of the following. First, choose a comfortable learning space that is free from any form of distractions. This will actually help you in focusing in our activities and lesson. Second one, participate actively in today's interactive session by encoding or typing your answers in the comment section below. And lastly, number 3, use your smartphone, writing materials, and most importantly, the learning packet that contains your science module as you study our lesson for today. As we are about to begin our very informative lesson, allow me to share with you the most essential learning competency that you should be able to meet and master. You, my dear students, are anticipated to explain why the cell is considered as the basic structural and functional unit of all organisms. Anchored in this most essential learning competency is the subtask that we are about to emphasize. So, at the end of the topic today, you are expected to identify the different scientists involved in the discovery of the cell. So, the question now is, are you ready to learn? If yes, please click the like or the heart button so that we can begin. As a starter, let us have a very quick recap activity. In the previous lesson, you learned to differentiate an animal cell and plant cell according to the presence or absence of certain organelles, right? So this time, I want you to recall and analyze the parts of the cell that I am going to present. Using the comment section below, please tell me whether the organelle that I will mention is present in plant cell, animal cell, or both. Okay, so you may just simply type PC if your answer is plant cell. Okay, so type EC if your answer is animal cell. And both if the part that I will mention can be found in plant cell and in animal cell. Okay, so PC, EC, or both. Are the directions clear? If yes, once again, kindly hit the heart reaction or heart button so that we can already start the drill. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so number 1, nucleus. Your time begins now. Time's up! So nucleus, which is considered as the control center of the cell that contains the DNA, is actually found in? You're right, both the plant and animal cell. Okay, so let's proceed to number 2, which is Golgi body or Golgi apparatus. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So Golgi body or Golgi apparatus, which is the processing and packaging center of the cell, is found in? You're once again correct, both in plant and animal cell. Let's proceed to number 3, which is chloroplast. Your time begins now. Time's up! So chloroplast, which is the site of photosynthesis, is found in? Correct! Only in plant cells. Let's proceed to number 4, which is mitochondrion. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So mitochondrion, which is considered as the powerhouse of the cell, is found? You're certainly correct, both in plant and animal cell. Let's proceed to number 5, which is cell wall. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So cell wall, which is the rigid, permeable wall that surrounds the plasma membrane, is present in? You're right, only in plant cells. So let's proceed to the next one, which is number 6. Okay, so for number 6, we have centriole. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So centriole functions in the formation of spindle fibers during cell division. And guess what? It is only found in? You're correct. Only in animal cells. Okay, let's proceed to number 7, which is cytoplasm. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So cytoplasm, which is the jelly-like fluid that surrounds and protects the organelles, is actually found in? You're right, both in animal and plant cells. Let's proceed to number 8, which is chlorophyll. Your time begins now. Alright, time's up. So chlorophyll, which is the green photosynthetic pigment found chiefly in the chloroplast, is only present in? You're once again correct. Only in plant cells. Okay, let's move on to number 9, which is ribosome. Your time begins now. Time's up! So ribosome helps in making proteins for the cell. And it is actually found in? Very good! Both in plant and animal cells. We are now down to the last one. For number 10, we have cell membrane. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So the cell membrane, which is the double layer gate of the cell that guards it from foreign materials, is actually found in? Good job, grade 7, both in plant and animal cells. So great job, everyone. Seems like you really learned a lot from your previous lesson. I think that you are now set and ready to learn more about biology and life. This time, we will open another topic. So let me begin by showing you the following pictures. Okay? So here is picture number 1. Okay? So now, let us have picture number 2. And finally, we have picture number 3. So, can you recognize them? If yes, please name or identify what is being shown in each picture. I want you to be specific with your ideas or answers, so you may encode your responses in the comment section below. I will give you a few seconds to key in your answers. Time's up! So actually, most of your ideas are acceptable. Let us now reveal the correct answers. So once again, let me show you picture number 1. So this animal is actually A crocodile. Good. Okay, let us have picture number 2. Okay, this plant is actually a rose. Okay, now we're down to the last picture. Picture number 3. Okay, so this might give you some confusion. This microorganism is not a bacterium. This is actually an amoeba. Okay, so, well, thank you very much for your answers, grade 7. Now, I will give you another few moments to think and analyze once more about these 3 organisms in the pictures. Okay, what you're going to do is to tell me at least one similarity among these 3 organisms. So we have crocodile, rose, and amoeba. Once again, you have to name at least one similarity of these 3 organisms. So you may examine the illustrations and guess how they are the same with one another. Okay? So you have 15 seconds to key in your answers in the comment section, which I can monitor in the screen. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So alright, very well, grade 7 students. Thank you for all your insights. So please take note that although a crocodile, a rose, and an amoeba are very different externally or on the outside, they are actually made up of the same building blocks on the inside or internally. So, from the simplest organisms like amoeba to the most complex bodies of human beings, each and every living thing here on Earth is actually made up of a variety of cells. This idea is part of the cell theory, which was enriched by the results of studies, researches, and experimentations conducted by well-known scientists in their respective fields. So today, we will dwell more on the significant contributions of different scientists in the discovery of the cell. The question is, are you ready to dig deeper and learn more about these famous scientists who studied about the cell? If yes, then let's proceed. At this moment, I want you to take a look at this image. Can you actually distinguish what is being shown in this particular picture? Okay, so you have few moments to encode your ideas in the comment section below. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So, most of you got the correct answer. The picture illustrates actual cells under the microscope. But, do you know what is unique about the cells in this particular image? Well, actually, these are the first ever cells in a quark that was examined by a very famous scientist whom I will introduce to you in our interactive discussion later. As you can see, the cells were like very minute openings or small pores when studied under the microscope. When magnified into a certain level, these small pores appear like this. They are like compartments which are adjacent to one another. Very interesting to look at, right? So this time, allow me to walk you through the historical times when cell was first discovered and studied by many great cytologists or the scientists who specialize in studying about the cells. The discovery of the cell would not have been possible if not for the advancements to the microscope. Interested in learning more about the microscopic world, the English scientist in the name of Robert Hooke improved the design of existing microscope in 1655. So here is it. His microscope used 3 different lenses and a stage light, which lit up and enlarged the specimen. These advancements allowed Hooke to see something amazing when he actually placed a piece of cork under the microscope. To him, the cork looked as if it was made of tiny pores, which he came to call cells because they reminded him of the cells in a monastery. Robert Hooke detailed his observations of this tiny and previously unseen world in his book entitled Micrographia in 1655. So in this book, he illustrated the smallest complete parts of an organism, which once again he called cells. So not long after Hooke's discovery, Dutch scientists Anthony van Leeuwenhoek detected other hidden tiny organisms called bacteria and protozoa. It was unsurprising that he would actually make such a discovery. You know why? Because Leeuwenhoek was a master of microscope maker and perfected the design of the simple microscope, which only had a single lens. The single lens enabled it to magnify an object by around 200 to 300 times of its original size. What van Leeuwenhoek saw with this microscope were bacteria and protozoa. But you know what? He actually called this as animalcules. Anthony van Leeuwenhoek became very much fascinated. He even took a look at the plaque between his teeth under the microscope. And guess what? He actually saw that there were many living animalcules inside there. On the other hand, between late 18th century and early 19th century, biologists began taking closer look at both animal and plant tissues. So scientists could easily tell that plants were completely made up of cells. That's because plant cells have a layer on the outside which we call as cell wall. However, this was not so obvious for animal cells, which lack a cell wall. Many scientists believe that animal cells were made up of globules. Years after, German scientists Theodor Schwann and Matthias Schleiden studied cells. Schwann studied animal cells, while Schleiden studied about plant cells. These two scientists identified the key differences between the two cell types and put forth the idea that cells were the simplest units of both plants and animals. However, Schwann and Schleiden misunderstood how cells grow. Schleiden believed that cells were seeded by the nucleus at the center and grew from there. Similarly, Schwann claimed that animal cells crystallized from the material between other cells. Eventually, other scientists began to uncover the truth. Another piece of the cell theory puzzle was identified by Rudolf Virchow in 1855. He stated that all cells are generated by existing cells. Now, have you ever heard about the cell theory? Guess what? The classical cell theory was proposed by Theodor Schwann in 1839. There are three parts to this particular theory. The first part states that all organisms are made up of cells. The second part states that cells are the basic units of life. So these parts were actually based on the conclusion made by Schwann and Schleiden in 1838, after comparing their observations of plant and animal cells. So, the third part, which asserts that cells come from pre-existing cells that have multiplied, was described by Rudolf Virchow in 1858, when he actually stated, "Omnis cellula e cellula," which means all cells come from cells. Since the formation of classical cell theory, technology has improved, allowing for more detailed observations that have led to new discoveries about cells. These findings led to the formation of the modern cell theory, which has three main additions. First, that DNA is passed between cells during cell division. Second, that the cells of all organisms within similar species are mostly the same, both structurally and chemically. And finally, number 3, that energy flow occurs within cells. So, at the turn of the century, attention began to shift from the study of cells or cytology to the study of genes or genetics. Genes tell the body how to grow and work. So chromosomes are like threads that carry genes and sit inside the cells. Walter Sutton and Theodore Boveri identified the chromosome as being responsible for passing down genes from one generation to the next. This discovery forever linked genetics to cytology. Later discoveries further confirmed and solidified the role of the cell in passing characteristics down from one generation to another generation. One famous example is James Watson and Francis Crick's studies on the structure of DNA. See how the discovery of cells evolved over time? It was really the hard work and persistence of these scientists that brought the world a deeper understanding and appreciation about cells and, of course, life. So, before we move towards the end of our lesson, let us once again recall the important names in the history of cell discovery. I will reveal the pictures and contributions while you tell me who is being described by each statement. So use the comment section in keying your answers. Okay? So let's begin. Here is picture 1 together with its description. Let me read it for you. English scientist that cut a thin slice of cork and looked at it under his microscope. To him, the cork seemed to be made up of empty little boxes, which he named cells. You have few moments and your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So, very good, grade 7. The correct answer is Robert Hooke. Okay, let us have picture number 2 with its description. Let me read it for you. Dutch naturalist who created a very powerful single-lens microscope which he used to discover animalcules and likewise accidentally discovered bacteria while examining scraping of crude from his teeth. You have 15 seconds. Okay, time's up. So you got the correct answer. The one being described in the picture and the statement is no other than Anthony van Leeuwenhoek. Let's proceed to the third one. So here's the picture together with the description. Okay, let me read it for you. German botanist who determined plants are composed of cells. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So you got it correctly. The one being described in the picture in the statement is no other than Matthias Schleiden. Okay, let us have the fourth one. So here's the picture together with the description. Okay, so let me read it for you. German physiologist and histologist who founded the cell theory and discovered the first digestive enzyme prepared from animal tissue. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So the correct answer is very good. No other than Theodore Schwann. Okay, let us have the last one. Okay, here's the picture together with the statement. In 1858, a doctor who stated that all living cells come from other living cells as part of the cell theory. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So most of you got the correct answer. So this picture illustrates Rudolf Virchow. Great job, grade 7 students. It seems like you really understood our topic for today. So please remember that the discovery of the cell continued to be important for science 100 years later. And this has been far more important for science than Robert Hooke could have ever dreamed during his time. It gave us an understanding of the building blocks of all living organisms like plants, animals, fungi, protists, and monerans. It also has led to advances in medical technology and treatment. Nowadays, scientists are actually working on personalized medicine, which would allow us to grow stem cells from our very own cells and then use them to understand disease processes. All of this and more grew from a single observation of the cell in a court. Just like a dream come true, right? At this moment, the floor is now open for some clarifications and queries that you have in mind. Feel free to use the comment section to ask pertinent questions, and I will try my very best to answer them accordingly. I will monitor your questions in the comment section. You have a minute to key in your questions, and your time begins now. Okay, time's up. So let me choose the first question. Okay? So, from Kanumay West National High School, what if cell was not discovered at all? How would it affect the lives of people? This one is a very interesting question. So actually, cytology, or the science of cell study, allows people to examine and understand better the life of different organisms, not only limited to people or human beings. So without the cell discovery, people like us may suffer from different infections and diseases which may not be properly diagnosed or treated. So take this one as an example. Before a sick person is given any type of medication, his body components like blood cells are being examined through laboratory testing. So certainly, cell discovery paved the way for the success in the fields of health and medicine. I hope I answered your question. So let's choose another one. From Lawang Bato National High School. So the question is, how is microscope helpful in the discovery of cells? So as we talked about, Robert Hooke and his successors made use of lens and microscopes in studying composition of varied life forms. So, without the microscope and other magnifying apparatuses, researches about cells and also discoveries about cells would not have advanced or progressed. Okay, so let us pick the last question. Okay, from Bignay National High School. Why was cell theory an important scientific discovery? Nice question. So actually, cell theory is crucial in understanding biology because cells form the basis of all living things. Okay? So all microorganisms like monerans or bacteria and protists and also fungi, plants, and animals are all composed of simple to complex cell structures. Okay? So, thank you very much for those who sent their questions. And to deepen your understanding about this particular lesson, kindly attend to your follow-up discussion with your respective science teachers. So, prepare your module and answer the assigned activities for this week. So, if you do not have any more questions, then let's call it a day. Thank you everyone for your active participation in our virtual biology class today. So, see you in our next session. Have a good day, grade 7.
Dahil sa COVID-19 pandemic, napilitan tayong magbago ng paraan ng pamumuhay. Ika nga nila, New Normal. At maging sa edukasyon, kailangan na nating sumulong patungo sa New Normal. Ang pamahalaang lungsod ng Valenzuela ay gumawa ng hakbang upang matiyak ang tuloy-tuloy na pagkatuto ng bawat kabataang Valenzuelano. Sa pakikipagtulungan sa Department of Education o DepEd Valenzuela, ilulunsad na natin sa parating na school year ang Valenzuela Live. Ang Valenzuela Live ay isang online streaming school kung saan maaaring magpatuloy ang klase ng mga mag-aaral kahit sila ay nasa kanilang mga tahanan. Paano nga ba ang magiging sistema ng Valenzuela Live? Enrollment. Sa buong buwan ng Hunyo hanggang sa ika-15 ng Hulyo 2020 ay isinagawa ang K-12 enrollment sa lahat ng pampublikong paaralan sa Valenzuela City. Nagpatupad ang DepEd Valenzuela ng mga sistema ng enrollment kung saan hindi na kailangan lumabas ng tahanan ang mga estudyante. Learning Pockets. Gumawa ang DepEd Valenzuela ng mga learning materials tulad ng modules, worksheets, at study guides na naaayon sa most essential learning competencies. Ipapamahagi ang mga ito sa bawat mag-aaral sa iba't ibang paraan. Internet Connectivity. Humigit kumulang 130,000 ang enrollee sa elementary at high school sa Valenzuela City para sa school year 2020 to 2021. At ayon sa isinagawang survey ng DepEd Valenzuela, tinatayang 22,000 sa mga ito ang walang smartphone. At upang tulungan ang ating mga mag-aaral na nangangailangan at mapatutunayang walang smartphone, ang pamahalaang lungsod ng Valenzuela ay magpapahiram sa kanila ng mga gadget. Ang target beneficiary nito ay ang mga kapwa natin Valenzuelano na nabibilang sa poorest of the poor. Ang magulang o guardian naman na ang bahalang sumagot sa wifi o mobile data imbis na gumastos para sa baon at uniforme. Streaming School. Kung dati ay harapan ng diskusyon ng guro at mga estudyante sa loob ng classroom, ngayon ay tablet o smartphone na lang ang magiging kaharap nila. Lahat ng leksyon ay ituturo ng mga guro sa pamamagitan ng video streaming na maaaring mapanood ng kanilang mga estudyante sa kanilang mga gadgets. Ang Valenzuela School of Mathematics and Science o VALMASAI ay gagamitin bilang off-site classroom. Dito isasagawa ng mga guro ang live streaming ng mga klase. Mayroong mga IT technician at moderator na magiging kaagapin ng mga guro para sa mas epektibong online classes. Magkakaroon din ng virtual communities kung saan pwedeng magsagawa ng follow-up discussions ang mga guro at estudyante gamit ang free online platforms na hindi nangangailangan ng mobile data subscription. Maaari rin ditong gumawa ng group chats ang mga magulang kung saan pwede silang mag-usap at magtulungan upang maging mas epektibo ang pag-aaral ng kanilang mga anak. Assessment. Ang mga estudyante ay kailangang bumuo ng portfolio kung saan ilalagay ang lahat ng ginawa nilang pagsasanay na susuri sa kanilang mga natutunan. Ang portfolio na ito ang pagbabasihan ng kanilang magiging grado. Ang pagbibigay ng marka o grado ay ibabatay sa panuntunan na ilalabas ng DepEd. Ngayong new normal, walang kabataang Valenzuelano ang maiiwan. Kaya tayo na Valenzuela, magbalik eskwela na sa tulong ng Valenzuela Live.